Hey, what's up, guys? Pete Alonso here from the New York Mets, and I'm here with Alfred, and I just want to say thank you so much to all you guys for listening to the Metropolitan Report. It's a really awesome show. You got some great insight on Mets baseball, and it's a great place where Mets baseball is talked about, and we got a lot of really fun stuff coming up this year, and a lot of really great things coming from this team in the clubhouse, and I'm really, really excited to keep the ball rolling, and it's been such a fun season, and I'm really thankful for everybody coming out to the ballpark and supporting us, and it's just been absolutely tremendous. So thank everybody for listening to the Metropolitan Report, and Alfred, keep doing your thing, and as always, LFGM.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an all-new edition of the Metropolitan Report. I'm your host, Alfred Parsar Jr., and here on this podcast, we talk about any and everything New York Mets. Just a friendly reminder that the Metropolitan Report is a proud member of the Grid network of podcasts where you can find all sorts of sports and entertainment content. Not much to be happy about in Mets land these days. After a very good series against the Miami Marlins where the Mets went 3-1, we traveled to Milwaukee. Last night, the night before, it's just been a bloodbath, and it's not a lot to be happy about. Not a lot to be happy about at all. I mean, I wear this Mets hat proudly, 24/7, 365, but Mets pitching is like a piñata. Mets offense has been very quiet, and we're going to talk about it all on this show today, this jam-packed edition of the Metropolitan Report. And it's a sad, I mean, I know it's early on in the season, but it's a sad state of affairs, folks, this early on. Of course, the Mets, they spend all this money. Uncle Steve has done a lot in the organization, bringing in key free agents. And I understand that you're not going to win every game, but you're not supposed to take a beating this bad. Why am I upset? Just in case you've been living under a rock or you don't follow the Mets, I'll easily tell you. The Mets have not scored a run since Sunday. That last game against Miami, have not scored a run since. You want to go even further into a deeper dive? The Mets have not scored a run in 19 innings. 19 innings, ladies and gentlemen, 19 innings. We have not scored a run. We're playing a Milwaukee team that had struggles against a bad Chicago Cubs team a week ago. Less than a week ago, because the season's only 6 days old. Mets offense is flat. While yesterday we did get 8 hits, we couldn't string together the 8 hits in succession, so we couldn't score runs. And then our pitching. So let's go back to Monday. Mets started Carlos Carrasco. His line as a starting pitcher, he went 4 innings, gave up 5 runs off of 4 hits. He did strike out 4, but he walked 4. Tommy Hunter, he came into the game in relief. He gave up 5 runs, and now he's injured. More on him a little bit later on. And then last night, Mad Max, who's supposed to be the ace of the staff, or at least one of the aces. Of course, Justin Verlander's hurt. 15-day IL. You know, he might be on there longer. Who knows? But Mad Max yesterday, or last night, I should say, 5 1/3. He gave up 5 runs on 8 hits, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. Out of those 5 runs on 8 hits, 3 of those runs were on back-to-back home runs. The Milwaukee Brewers, they have a mascot. His name is Bernie. Every time the Milwaukee Brewers hit a home run, Bernie slides down the slide in center field. The Mets play the Brewers again for the finale of the series at 1:40 p.m. today. If I see Bernie slide down that slide one more time, I'm going to have an aneurysm. It got to the point where they hit so many home runs last night that after the back-to-back home runs, Bernie went back to the top of the slide. He went back to the top of the slide, anticipating another home run. They think we're soft. Bernie was having a time of his life last night. Between that and the sausage race that the Brewers did last night, I felt embarrassed to be a Met fan, to be quite honest with you. And they're probably looking at this game today, 1:40 p.m. Like we're just gonna lose. We give it up to them. Bernie was checking his pulse. That's how many times he slid last night down that slide. I hope if Mr. Met ever runs into Bernie, he'd club him with a bat. Bernie Brewer. You know, this Max Scherzer that I saw last night, eerily reminiscent of the Max Scherzer that pitched in game 1 of the wild card round against the Padres last October. Just didn't have it. Now, granted, Max, he had a good outing against the Miami Marlins for the first 5 innings, and he imploded in the 6th. Is this going to be a common trend? Does Max Scherzer not have it anymore? That's what I'm wondering. Does Max Scherzer not have it anymore? I would love to know. Does Max Scherzer, and then especially that outing, he was laboring through it. He looked so tired. I don't understand. Mets lose on Monday 10-0 and lose last night 9-0. Is it too early to panic? And then Monday's game was even worse. At least we got 8 hits last night. Monday, we only got 3 hits. Vogelback had a hit and Guillorme had 2 hits. And here's the funny thing. Out of all the pitching in this series, Dennis Santana, who was the guy who the Mets claimed off waivers late in the spring, he did fine. 1 inning, no runs. And Luis Guillorme, the backup infielder, pitched better than the rest of the bullpen at a scoreless inning. Lifetime ERA of 6. Go figure. Mets offense is flat. They better figure it out quick because the NL East is a very competitive division. Now, I know the Phillies have yet to win a game in the division, but the Marlins, they just blanked the Twins last night. Sandy Alcantara had a heck of a game. Marlins are probably going to be competitive early on in the season. And the Braves are the Braves. They had fun with the Nationals this past weekend. Albeit for 1 game, but Brandon Nimmo, I can't say too much about. He's drawing walks. But you look at the rest of this offense, can't say much about Tim LeCastro, who I lobbied for in spring training, because every time he comes at the plate, he seemingly gets hit by a pitch. But it's just unacceptable. No runs on 3 hits Monday. And like I said yesterday, 8 hits. But couldn't string them together to get a run. The line score from last night is not actually too bad offense-wise, except that they just couldn't get any RBIs. Brewers had 9 runs on 13 hits. We had 8. Nimmo goes 3 for 4. Jeff McNeil went 3 for 3. Here's the other startling thing about this line from last night. Now, granted, we did get 8 hits. However, the Mets lineup last night only struck out 3 times. Not too bad. But drew no walks. I can't tell you the last time I saw a baseball game and a team didn't draw not one single walk in the entire game. Rarity, folks. But again, I understand 8 hits, but you got to string the runs together. You got to get the hits consecutively. And props for Starling Marte. Starling Marte, a heck of a competitor. Starling Marte, despite the fact at the time that the Mets were down by 7 runs, 9 runs, I'm sorry, late in the game. Even on a deep fly ball out, he's still tagging up to the next base to try to score a run, to try to at least make it look respectable. Props to Starling Marte. That's why he was an all-star last year. The guy is just a competitor. Take a look at the NL East standings. Thank God it's early in the season. Mets are in second, a game and a half out. They're 3-3. Braves are 4-1. But the Mets, they gotta get it together. They have to get it together. It's a must at this point. I understand it's early, it's April, and they're not going to win every game. But again, after the way that they looked against the Marlins this past weekend, where they won 3 out of 4 games, and the pitching was great, and the offense was clicking. I don't know, maybe the travel to a different part of the country stumped them. I don't know. Today is the finale of the series, as I mentioned. Going for the Mets is David Peterson. He's going up against Brewers ace Corbin Burns. David Peterson's numbers on paper are not bad. David Peterson pitched in the one game that the Mets lost against Miami. In that one game, David Peterson, of course, he took the loss, but he pitched 5 innings. He gave up 1 run on 8 hits. That's not a bad line, honestly. And he only walked 1 and he struck out 5. Just so be it that the Mets offense just didn't click for him that day. But a pitcher with a 1.5 ERA, only gave up 1 run on the season. I think the Mets could turn this around. Corbin Burns, on the other hand, who is pitching for the Brewers, in his career has notoriously started off slow. His outing against the Cubs, he left that with a 7.20 ERA, his exact line in that game. In 5 innings pitched, he gave up 4 runs on 4 hits, walked 3, and struck out 3. Again, Corbin Burns, even though he's a phenomenal pitcher, all-star almost every year, he has been known to start off slow. So the Mets need to take advantage of this. The Mets need to take advantage of Corbin Burns' slow starts to the season. And again, it's a day game. Tomorrow is the Mets home opener in Flushing. So, travel's going to be involved. The Mets have had a brutal schedule, folks. They've started the season with 8 straight games before they get a day off. Of course, their day off is Friday. So we're in for a rough stretch here. I mean, the Mets, they opened the season with 4 in Miami, traveled to Milwaukee for 3, and then got to come home for one final game before they get a day off. So 8 straight games before a day off with lots of travel involved. Of course, the Mets play the Marlins again tomorrow for the home opener. I will be in attendance live at Citi Field, and I'll bring you guys in the YouTube audience a very special video blog of my opening day experience. That's going to be pretty cool. I'm planning on it. But sticking to today, again, the Mets play the Brewers. David Peterson versus Corbin Burns. And again, we got to see something here. The offense. They cannot close this series without putting up a fight, giving some oomph. They just can't. They cannot. All right, some injury news, folks, and we said it or alluded to it earlier in the program. Of course, Tommy Hunter, who pitched on Monday, is on the IL. Tommy Hunter injured, was placed on the injured list with back spasms, ladies and gentlemen. So Tommy Hunter, who coming out of spring training, earned himself a roster spot. Of course, Hunter, as we've stated on this program before in previous episodes, a favorite bullpen arm of Buck Showalter's. Hunter only made 2 appearances this season before going on the IL with the back spasms. In lieu of Tommy Hunter getting hurt, the Mets have called up Denny Reyes from AAA Syracuse to replace Tommy Hunter and give us a fresh arm out of the pen. In order to make room for Reyes, the Mets placed Bryce Montes de Oca on the 60-day injured list. Of course, Montes de Oca had Tommy John surgery last week. He got hurt in spring training, competing for a roster spot. Unfamiliar with Denny Reyes. Denny Reyes last season appeared in 3 games for the Orioles. So he hasn't had a long major league career. But Denny Reyes should be an arm. I don't expect him to be lights out or phenomenal. Just a guy to go to when you run out of fresh arms for a situation, in my opinion. But Tommy Hunter, again, he's on the 15-day IL with back spasms. Tommy Hunter is like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Again, gave up the 5 runs in Milwaukee on Monday, but he pitched scoreless ball in Miami. You want to look at that Miami line? He pitched 2 innings against Miami, only gave up 1 hit, had no strikeouts and no walks, however. And then on Monday, he just imploded. 2 innings pitched, 5 runs on 5 hits, gave up a homer, 2 walks, and only struck out 1. Did Tommy Hunter. So Tommy Hunter, again, just back spasms, not a serious injury, not an injury that's going to hamper this Mets bullpen long term. Nowhere near an Edwin Diaz type of injury, but we will need Tommy Hunter back, because one thing about Tommy Hunter that not a lot of the other relievers in our bullpen can do is eat up innings. Tommy Hunter is a long man. Tommy Hunter is a guy you need 2 innings out of the bullpen, possibly 3. You're going to throw in Tommy Hunter. You're not going to throw in Ottavino. You're not going to throw in David Robertson, because those are your guys, setup man and the closer. They're not eating up innings. Dennis Santana, while he has been good and he has exceeded my expectations so far, Dennis Santana, only a guy you're going to put out there 1 inning. Dennis Santana's a flamethrower. He's not going to eat up multiple innings in relief. So Tommy Hunter, a very valuable piece of this bullpen, because he can go more than 1 inning, especially when we live in a day and age of pitch management and arm issues and coaching staffs being very wary of pitch counts. Tommy Hunter's a guy going more than 1 inning in relief. It doesn't bother him. So that's that. Can't wait to get Tommy Hunter back. Can't wait to see what Denny Reyes does if he does get an opportunity to pitch with the big league club. Also, more injury news on the farm. This is very interesting. Fresh news out of AAA Syracuse, folks. Brett Beatty, the prize third base prospect. Brett Beatty has an injured right thumb and will miss time. Brett Beatty, the reason why this is a significant injury, last season when he was called up to the big league roster, he missed the tail end of the season because he hurt his thumb, had to have surgery on his thumb. The same thumb that he had surgery on is the same thumb that's hurt now. They're saying that he has pain in that right thumb, the same thumb that was operated on last season, the same thumb that's surgically repaired. So this could be an issue, especially because he is playing third base. This is on his throwing hand. So he did have a hit in last night's game in Syracuse, but he only took one at bat. Then he experienced the discomfort and said something to the coaching staff about the thumb, and they pulled him from the game. He's set to undergo imaging today to see what the issue is. Of course, the surgery last year was to repair torn ligaments in the thumb. We're hoping that's not the case this go around. If it is, then this is a bad sign because it's a recurring injury in the same body part, especially for a young player. Beatty's only 22. So, an injury history with the same body part, that's going to be scary. We're wishing Brett Beatty all the best. And this comes at a time where you look at the big league club, and we said in our spring training episodes that we expected Brett Beatty to surpass and replace Eduardo Escobar at third base sometime this season. Eduardo Escobar is struggling, folks. You look at his stats. Eduardo Escobar has played every game so far this season, and in 17 at bats in 6 games, he's only got 1 hit. So, with Beatty being out, this is especially with the same injury from last season that afflicted him not even a full year ago, because he had that surgery in September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, 7 months later, and he's still suffering from an injury in that same body part, possibly the same injury. Who knows? You got to have a second surgery on that thumb. That's going to be pretty scary at this point in that young man's career. So, I just hope for the best for Beatty. Hopefully he doesn't need surgery again, but he is experiencing some discomfort according to reports in that thumb. Bad news for one of the big prospects. Otherwise, on the farm, if you guys check out the Syracuse box scores lately, the Syracuse Mets hitting on all parameters. They did have that game on Sunday where they thrashed the opposition in one game. Ronnie Mauricio, Francisco Alvarez, and Brett Beatty all had home runs. Beatty went yard twice, so 4 home runs between the youngsters there, and Beatty was the star of the show. So it's just disheartening to hear that he's injured and it might be put on the injured list. All right, moving forward again, home opener tomorrow, Citi Field, 1 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. Mets play the Marlins. Now, this Brewer series is not over, so I can't just exactly look ahead to the home opener. Lineups haven't been announced. Tyler McGill has been confirmed to be the starting pitcher for the home opener. That would be 2 home openers in a row that McGill is the starting pitcher. So hopefully looking for good things out of that. McGill did look good in Miami last week where he got a win in his start. So stay tuned to the Metropolitan Report YouTube channel for updates as we go through the home opening weekend. But before I depart, one final thought. Like I said, to recap, the Mets offense needs to wake up again. We play Milwaukee 1:40 p.m. today, ladies and gentlemen. American Family Field in Milwaukee. I would hate to see the Mets get swept in a series this early on. Of course, we're not going to win the series. We lost the first 2 games. But this offense needs to wake up. Cannot come into the home opener tomorrow in front of the home fans, in front of the Flushing faithful behind me, and lay an egg. And Max Scherzer, again, the pitching performance is unacceptable. Just unacceptable. Again, Max Scherzer looked like the Max Scherzer from the wild card round against San Diego, and Cookie. Both Cookie and Max, the past 2 games have been human pinatas. Unacceptable. I know it's unfair to judge a player on a small sample size, but if these are gonna be some repeat performances, I'm gonna have to ream these guys out. Offense has got to wake up. 8 hits is cool, but you got to string them together. Can't scatter them out because we need runs. Again, folks, stay tuned to the YouTube channel. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at _Metropolitan_report. You can follow the grid, GRYD_network on Instagram and Twitter. Great network of podcasts there. And I've said everything else that there is to say. And if you agree or disagree with my panic, you could put it in the comments below. But the only thing left to say is, let's go Mets.